All right, I guess we are live, maybe. Seems like we are live.
Yep.
We are.
Nice. Oh no, wait. Okay, I had my YouTube open in the background, so it started playing. But hello everybody to the last Ruby Tuesday of the year. I opened up my slides. I was like, oh, it's December already. It's like, oh wow, time really flies. Yeah, hello, welcome everybody to the last Ruby Tuesday number 87, and for KL, and 36, I think, for Penang. Yep, 36 for Penang. All right, so let's get started. So today, besides Engineers NY and KL Ruby Brigade, for part of providing StreamYard, we also have Folkwell sponsoring this session as well. We will invite Ruvina to join us to share what Folkwell does and also what they've prepared for the community as well. So, hello, Ruvina.
Hi there, guys. How are you?
Good. Hello.
Good.
Great. So I'll represent a bit about Folkwell. My name's Rabina. A lot of people call me Ribena since it's a bit easier. Basically, what Folkwell does is that we help connect talented software developers to the right company. So a bit about our community. We have a community of incredible software developers. We have worked with Women Who Code Malaysia, Google Cloud, KLJS, if you've heard of them, the Laravel community, the NASA Hackathon, we helped sponsor that as well. And more interesting, actually, we conducted our very own hackathon back in 2020, which was to actually fight the coronavirus. So we named it Folkwell Coronavirus Hack 2020. So a bit of a background of where we're at. Folkwell actually is quite interesting. We originated in Japan. So we have the largest developer community in Japan. We have over 40,000 registered members, 80,000 online attendees to our very new YouTube channel. We have 150,000 YouTube views, 800 clients, and 9 years of experience in HR tech. So speaking about our YouTube channel, we recently featured a very interesting guy. His name is DHH. You might as know, he's the creator of Ruby on Rails. So if you actually visit our YouTube channel, you can have a look at the fireside chat with DHH, which is really awesome. Some of the other videos that we have are international speakers from Amazon, Google, and GitHub, and many more. But if you visit our YouTube channel, most of the content is in Japanese, as our attendees are mostly Japanese. But we're trying to get more English-speaking videos as well. So moving on, for today, we have 4 grab food vouchers worth 50 ringgit each. So all you have to do is sign up on our website, which is called folkwell.io. This is our global site for our international developers to sign up on. And you have to fill in your developer profile. And then lastly, you just have to complete it by today, which is 7th of December, 2021. And then you stand a chance to win 4 grab food vouchers. So just a kind reminder also to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we'd love to have more attendees watch our videos as well. And I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that, Ruvina.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess everybody heard her. Please, wait, let me bring up the slide. Yep, so I think just repeating what Ruvina just said, they are having a raffle, right, for 4 GrabFood vouchers. So sign up at folkwell.io and fill in the profile and complete this by today. I guess once they're done, they can reach out to you through the Ruby Malaysia Slack as well, right? So I'll share the Slack link later on how to register, but yeah, they can reach out to you once they're done, just to confirm, I guess, that they've completed the profile.
Yep, brilliant.
All right. Is there any questions from anybody watching?
Maybe no.
Probably not. But yeah, if you have any questions anytime during this meetup, just feel free to comment in chat, because I think Ruvina and her colleague will be around to answer any questions that you might have, or even in Folkwell in general, I guess. Maybe they have questions on like how they can use Folkwell to search for jobs overseas or anything at all, I guess. Yep.
Yep. That sounds great.
All right. Thanks so much for your time, Ruvina.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that was Ruvina from Fogwell. Again, if anybody has any questions on Fogwell, please feel free to continue chatting in the chat section, I guess. Yep, so moving on. Our socials, as usual, we are on Facebook. And I'll highlight in our hiring section later some of the interesting posts, I guess, on jobs in Facebook. Most of our events are on Meetup. GitHub for all code related things. So we mentioned about Slack earlier, where you can reach out to Ruvina once you're done your Fogwell profile. So this is actually where you can register to the Slack, right? bit.ly/ruby_my/slack if you aren't there already. Right, we also hang out on Discord sometimes, so feel free to join Discord. Right, everybody, I'm Gui KL. I always forget to do this. I like that Jimmy put this up and just continue the tradition because I always forgot to introduce myself.
And I am Tristan. Yeah, this slide is a good reminder to make sure we always introduce ourselves, especially for the new people who are coming to the meetups.
Yep, I'm Gui Penang, so I'm the Ruby King organizer in Penang.
All right. Let's see. All right, reminder, comment and chat. I think everybody's watching this on YouTube right now. So just a gentle reminder, your name or profile pic and comment might show on the stream, especially if it's a question. So you want like to show everybody what's the question you brought up. So you might highlight it on the stream. Just a reminder. Second reminder is with our event code of conduct. So we follow the Ruby community conduct guidelines. So yep. All right, hiring shoutouts. So, I mean, Ruvina talked about it already. I'm just repeating. Fogwell is a platform to search for job. Hopefully, that's the correct thing I'm saying. So, do check them out. Let's see. What oil? Yep. And also highlighting some of the posts that recently showed up in our Facebook group. If you aren't here already, search for KL Ruby Brigade. So I think Gui shared a lot of hiring related from developer Kaki. I think mostly Ruby on Rails. Ruby on Rails role. And I think like there's a few additional posts also for like senior Rails developer and that sort of thing. Yeah, so definitely check out the Facebook group as well. Right. Gui, Tristan, anything for hiring shoutouts?
Not for this month. I guess it's probably going to pick up next year. At least like we should probably do some kind of like forecast episode next year, like on January, like how things are. But I think we should have more job posts. But there are the job posts right now on the Facebook group and on Slack channels. You should take a look at them. Go to forkwell.io as well for job postings, because if you get in earlier, then you don't have to like deal with the rush of incoming applications next year. So start if you're thinking of either a career change or if you've been thinking about a developer job and wanting to see what's out there. Yep, there's a lot of them in the Facebook group and the Slack channel.
I just
Forkwell.io,
realized
of course.
Tristan is here.
Yes.
All right, I guess we can move on. So today we have Malcolm joining us to talk about comparing different Ruby Json serializers. So let's welcome Malcolm in.
Hello.
Hey, well,
So, yep. I guess I'll start by introducing myself first. So, I'm Malcolm. I'm a backend developer for Fort Ninja. So, speaking about career change, also, yeah, I myself also from a career change also. Before I become a Ruby developer, I came from petroleum engineering for 2 years. Then I jumped ship to in this IT sector. So I joined Next Academy. I learned Ruby, then I start work as a developer since then. So yeah. So let me share my screen. Okay. So my topic is for today is about Json Serializer. So Json Serializer, it's usually when you want to build a Rails API only app. So you need to serialize all your data in a JSON format so that it can transfer to the client side from the backend. So in Rails, we have this method called sjson for basically like active models, but then it comes a problem where it's not that very flexible in the long term. So I will share you one of the problem statement. So initially, if you have your Rails controller, this is like when you starting off build up your app, and your controller seems like very simple. It's just render JSON, render JSON, and your model as JSON. So the next thing is you need to comply with the requirements. Like maybe you need to exclude some of the attributes. Maybe you need to include some attributes. So it will slowly grow. So in the end, you have this like massive show method, as you can see in the screen. So this one will pose a problem in a way that it will be less. It will cause a problem where developers will have a problem to maintain your JSON output. So there will be more downsides in the future. So let's say if different type of user roles different type of user roles will need to have like show different set of columns or attributes. So you need to have an if and else statement, and it will make your controller grow bigger. So from this, there are few problems that we need to solve. One is that we need to easily change some JSON keys, because if you see in here, if you notice that sjson, you see there's a method here. So this method, it will call your model instance method, but sometimes that, let's say if you want to change the key instead of running a database migration, it's much more easier to have a model instance method to call that column. So, and also we need to easily include and exclude some of attributes. And we need to make sure also it will be easy to make future changes without any dramatic changes. And while all of that, we need to maintain the readability and also the in sense of like how to maintain the code. So we have some gems that we considered. So the criteria that we choose the gem is based on the gem health, which means like how active is the maintainer, what is the recent commits, and also the gem activity. So 3 of them are JBuilder. So JBuilder is a gem maintained by the Rails team themselves. So for sure, it will be like it will have a high maintenance in the long run. And another gem that we have is also JB gem. So JB gem, it's basically a gem that is built on top of JBuilder. And it's also maintained by one of the Ruby and also Rails committer, Amatsuda. So the last one, we have Blueprinter gem. So this Blueprinter gem is kind of like a new gem. And its syntax is heavily inspired by the active model serializer. that is right now active model serializer is no longer being actively maintained for now. So yeah, before I move into the code itself, I want to show you the difference of the syntax between all of these three gems. So if I go here, so this is the repo of the JBuilder gem. So the syntax that you'll be handling if you are using JBuilder is this syntax. So it will look kind of weird in first glance because it's basically a lot of like Ruby sugar syntax, and also your view file needs to have a file name json.jbuilder. The next one is JB. So this JB gem, the syntax will be much more familiar because it's all pure Ruby hash. So you won't have a problem where people will not understand the syntax as well. So JB, as I said before, JB gem builds on top of JBuilder in a sense where when you are rendering partial, especially in collection, JB will actually render the collection. So the difference between JB and JBuilder is that JBuilder, when you are rendering a collection, it actually just render the partial few times. So yeah, the next one is Blueprinter. So Blueprinter is a new gem. So the syntax wise is actually this one. So basically you need to create a pure Ruby class. So you have user blueprint that inherits the Blueprinter base. And here you can determine your identifier and also like determine what fields that you want to include in the JSON. So one of the big plus that make me choose Blueprinter is because they have these views. So these views will actually enable you to choose which view that you want to render your JSON. So let's say, for instance, if here you have a user blueprint. In a normal view, you will have email column, first name and last name columns. But you can also have an extended view, which includes everything inside the normal view. And it also includes the address field and also the projects associated to that user. So all of that is there. I'm going to show you the performance wise for all the three gems. So what I have here is basically a simple Rails repo. I have a user model which has many posts and comments, and post which belongs to user and has many comments. And the same thing goes with comments also. So in Blueprinter side, I also have this post blueprint. So you can see that I want to include the ID field, content, author. I want it to take the user's username, and also I want to render out an array of comments using this blueprint. So here is basically pretty much simple. So I have a ID and content field, and also I have the author field as well for the comments. So for the JBuilder side, I have this index view file. So this index will render an array of posts by rendering this post JBuilder partial. So here I render out my ID, content, author, and my array of comments. For JB side, it's almost the same. So I just render out the partial with collection. So this will just render out this hash. So in terms of one of the problems that we want to solve is just to so that we can easily change the keys or make changes in the future. So in terms of JBuilder and JB, let's say if you want to change some of the attribute keys, let's say for comments, I want to change to reviews, I can just as like this. So in comparison to SJSON, for SJSON, you need to define an instance method here so that you just type review comments. So you need to add in another method in your model layer. So in the long term, this is like actually, for me, it's not, I would say it's not recommended, I guess, because it's built up your model file. And in the sense of readability, JBuilder is, if you can get used to the syntax of JBuilder, then this one should be fine. JB will be much more easier to familiarize because it's just a pure Ruby hash. But for Blueprinter, on the other side, it's going to be a bit hard to maintain because let's say different controllers will have different set of views. So all your views will be inside this blueprint file. So at the end of the day, this will make your blueprint file gross. So for performance wise, I'm going to show you this one. So this is my basically the test environment. So what I'm going to do is just to render this JSON. So I have an ID, content, author, and I want to render an array of comments which has ID, content, and author as well. So here I define my instance variable for post. And just to give you a view of how would I render this by using SJSON, it's basically like this. So this is just me changing the username key to author. So I need to create another author instance method and call the method inside this SJSON. So yeah, this one will get bulky real quick in the future. But in the context of JB and JBuilder, you just run this random method in the action controller. Okay, so for the performance wise, I built up this benchmark block. So it will test out against the JB gem, JBuilder, Blueprinter gem, and also the Rails native SJSON method. So I'm going to run that. Just run Rails server. And here, I'm just going to run this URL. So what does this benchmark does is, initially it will start up some warm-up, and then it will run the performance calculation. So this will take a while. So immediately you can see that JB renders 4 iterations per second. JBuilder, yeah, the result is here. So you can see that JB is the fastest actually. Next up is the Blueprinter, which is slightly lower than JB. SJSON and Blueprinter, basically the performance is not that much difference, but the slowest is actually the JBuilder. So in our use case, we actually wanted to move to JB in the future because performance-wise, it's better than other of the gems that we considered. So yeah, that's about it. So any questions from the chat or even from the host as well?
No questions from the chat, but I do have a question on like versioning. That do any of these have inbuilt support for JSON versioning or API versioning, or do you have to do it yourself?
I think yeah, we have to do it ourselves. JSON versioning, yeah, I think it's not supported with either of the gems that we chose.
Okay, so I guess like you have to decide on your own, right? Like
Yep.
whether or which version this particular JSON payload comes.
Mhm.
Does this support any of the new JSON API standard? I think JSONAPI.org was it or something
Oh,
like
you mean like the standard open API JSON, is it?
yeah they're making like a JSON API standard so that it's for interoperability between APIs. This or
Mhm.
do you have to match it yourself, or is there like an easy way to do that?
Basically, that one you have to build it yourself, like based on the
Mhm.
standards. So because for the standards, I think for every JSON response that you get, you need to have like the data key. The inside data key
Yeah.
is your JSON response. So that you actually need to build it yourself. Like even
Mhm.
with the native SJSON, we practically need to build something our own so that it will come out data than your JSON result
Yeah.
in the end.
Because yeah, in the native as JSON, I would expect that you build it yourself because that's like that's how it is. Like they make it so flexible without adhering to a standard. I was expecting like, at least some of them would have like a JSON API mode. Like for example, if you have a paginated request and you have your data and you have your next and previous links or ability to access those resources. But yeah, probably another gem that builds on top of these would be good.
I think for the pagination side, uh, I remember I think it's the Pagi gem. They have an
Mhm.
API mode which it will append the next page and also some data in the header as well, like how many items that is remaining. Yeah,
Mhm.
so the Pagi gem has this kind of functionality for API mode.
And I guess it easily integrates with these builders, right?
Yep.
Or serializers. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
We have some questions on the chat.
Besides speeds, what's your opinion
Um,
on architectural design when apps gets big? What's your opinion on design when the apps get big?
so I'm guessing the question here is because when the app gets big, speed is one of the things that you need to take care of, right? Like it needs to be
Yep.
fast because if usually the trend is when the app gets bigger, it gets slower.
hmm
What other things do you pay attention to when apps
for
gets big?
me, it's like as the apps get big, I prefer it to be easier to read and maintain in the long run, since it's
Mhm.
getting bigger, bigger and bigger as time goes on. So, which is why I have did this kind of research, because the things that we build will is actually like it's not only this. We actually have a lot of some if and else method, like if and else method to show if this user can view this type of columns or not. So in the long run, this will cause like a bit of issue in maintaining the app and also like the readability.
Yeah. Speaking of that, is this easier to modularize? Because as JSON can be a bit, you can have a really long 100 line as JSON, but some gems I've seen you can modularize with inheritance. I think JBuilder has inheritance. You can compose uh, JSON inside JSON, like models inside models as well. You can
hmm
follow follow associations?
I think in the sense of that, for JB, I'm not too sure. I didn't play around with it that deep yet. But to make it more modularized, I think this is like the one of the things that I like about JB or JBuilder is like they have like support for render partial, so you can modularize your view templates. For Blueprinter, yeah, Blueprinter is also the same. It will make it more modularized. As you can see, yep, you can like have, if I'm not mistaken, there's a way for you to make a conditional around this class so that whether or not you can render this kind of column. If not, it will render certain blueprints.
Okay, Xiong, I hope that answers your question. If you have any more clarifications, and we'll see it on the chat. Gui, do you have questions as well?
Yeah, I'm curious on the benchmarking that you do. Obviously, in this demo, I assume that it's simpler here because you mentioned that there are scenarios, for example, like you say, there are logic inside there, right? If a user is something, I'm curious, like what other considerations that you included? For example, do you test like very big JSON objects and see how they perform? Is it consistent with the result we see here, or like any other cases that you test, and did any of the results surprise you, for example?
The one that surprised me is SJSON. I thought since it's a native Rails method, I thought this one's supposed to be the fastest. But then it actually like JB like overtakes it for the fastest one. But that's one thing I didn't consider is the what is it called? The RAM usage. Because if we think in a way, the faster that the thing runs, it will eat up more RAM. And also the test that I use this one is actually it's a big JSON actually. I didn't have any pagination, so I think I have like around maybe more than 20 posts, and each post will have like 10 or 20 comments. So it's quite a big JSON file. Like in a real world sense, you won't render that much of stuff. Most probably you need to paginate it. So, oh yeah, Xiong has a question. How about to.json? So to.json, I assume it's going to be the same as well, but I think we can test it out, I guess. Let's see here. Because from what I understand, to.json and sjson will, in the end, render a Ruby hash. Let's see if this works. Double renderer. Okay. So yeah, I think I would expect there's not much difference between to.json and sjson. The output
Well,
is
actually, to.json just uses as.json as
yeah.
like it calls as.json for the representation. So usually you wouldn't put like parameters on toJSON, it's just toJSON, and then you do the representation in the AskJSON method. So you override the AskJSON method, and then you have it like that. But so they should perform the same. toJSON would probably perform slightly, very minimally slower because it's an indirection to AskJSON, but
Yep.
it's practically negligible.
It's also the same thing with this Rails method. It's serializable hash also, because in the background, SJSON will call the serializable hash method also.
Yeah, that's how it converts the hash into a proper serializable version. Because sometimes you'll need to escape some characters, so the serialization object takes care of those things.
Yep.
Sorry, Gui, did you want to say something? Oh, no, okay.
The result seems interesting.
Yeah. This SJSON right now, I'm using toJSON. And yeah, one more thing before I forget. There's also another thing I add this on so that it will optimize the JSON rendering. I think I put it inside config. I also included OJGem. So this actually plays a big role in the JSON serialization speed also. Because I tried this one without the OJGem, blueprinter text delete, and only then it would be SJSON, then JB and JBuilder. So that's a quite interesting result in terms of whether or not you're using OJ or not.
Yeah, seems like
What
there
are
are
we waiting for?
tweaks.
Sorry, what are we waiting for the blueprint? Sorry, for the benchmark.
Oh no, it's done already.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it's fast because toJSON, you don't really what do you call this? It takes an options hash, so it doesn't take what you're supposed to serialize. So it's probably not serializing anything. That's why it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving an empty result. So you can do it on the Rails console, like something like toJSON and then something. You're probably not going to get anything.
Oh, it's
Yeah, so
straight away written a string.
Yeah. It returns JSON. Basically, JSON is a string. So it will serialize that, and it uses the AskJSON of the the default AskJSON of the post instance. So if you put like parameters on it, like if you want to override it with something, then it's not going to really do anything.
Yeah.
So your custom serialization is not actually running. That's why it's the fastest. But you're not getting the correct output, or the output that you expected anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gui was mentioning that it's an interesting result. Yeah, it is interesting because the AskJSON, when you change it to just toJSON, doesn't actually give the correct output.
Yep. Okay, so any more questions?
I guess not. Do you have like any methods people can reach out to you, Malcolm, if they have questions or just generally interested in like the work that you did here?
I guess they can contact me in Slack because I joined the Ruby Slack. So yeah, maybe they can just DM me or just ping me in the general channel.
All right, sounds good. I will bring up the Slack URL again in a bit. But yeah, Malcolm, very good talk. I learned a lot actually. All the gems as well. Well, there's so many permutations, I guess, because you mentioned you added like OJ gem as well, and I guess it's a consideration as well, right? When you're using
Yeah.
different sort of methods to do the JSON serializing. Yeah, thanks so much for coming and sharing what you've learned while doing this research.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Malcolm.
And I think what we can take from it is like benchmarks are important. Like if you, well, one of the things that you want to switch to if you're switching to a gem is whether it is better for your workflow. Like in this case, when the application gets bigger, you want something more modularized or readable, like what Malcolm is saying. So that's one thing, but also you want it to be fast, and that's why it's still, you would, you can't just rely on gut feel, like, oh, everyone's using this gem, like let's just use it. Although that's probably one thing as well. If you want more developers, you'd like to use libraries that are more well known rather than like more obscure ones, because the learning curve might be more difficult. But yeah, in this case, like, yeah, having a benchmark also shows it can be a good indicator of or a signal of things that you might want to choose.
Yeah, definitely. I think like people should measure measure what they're what they're thinking about doing. So at least you have concrete numbers behind it. I think it helps a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I just like to correct what I was saying before. Like, yeah, 2JSON actually has the same options as JSON, because they're just calling each other. So I'm still not sure. So it's not necessarily that it's incorrect. It's probably just something's up with the benchmark. So it should actually be the same as JSON. I'm just not sure what's up.
Right. Sounds like Malcolm, you need to go back and do some more research.
Yeah.
All right. Parking lot, I guess. Since we are moving on, anyone wants to share like something they experienced with Ruby or Rails or any like development tips in general? I guess. Trying to remember if I have any. I don't think I have any. Most of the things that I've been working on is mostly like business domain related, not really like Ruby or Rails in general. Yeah.
I have one. Let me see. Let me see if I can share quickly my screen. Share screen. This is something I still haven't really. I've only watched the takeout, the Ruby Kaigi takeout videos, but this is Ruby. So we've seen Ruby before. I think Penang, we've done a few microcontroller episodes as well from before. If you'll watch a few of the past episodes, we've done Ruby on microcontrollers as well. This is another one. If you know about the Raspberry Pi Pico. So this is one of the latest microcontrollers from Raspberry Pi. It's quite cheap. It's quite fast as well. They say this is the new Arduino microcontroller, and this project creates a Ruby virtual machine inside that microcontroller, so you can run you can flash LEDs. In this case, what this project is doing is something called a PRK framework. This is actually a keyboard. Where's the picture? Where are the pictures? I think. Sorry, let me just see if Pico Ruby keyboard. Yeah, it is a. No, I wanted to get the pictures, but it just because he has some nice pictures of the actual keyboard on this, and it's not just a keyboard, so you can do it as a macro key, because you can have a key map as well. So for example, like people who use Vim, for example, they prefer having the caps lock do something else. And so because you control the firmware of your keyboard, then um, you don't need to just to remap a vimrc file. You can just like set it so that when you press this key, the keyboard actually sends something else like a shift or a control or something. So I think, how about this one? This one has pictures, yeah. So this one is a Raspberry Pi, for example. Then you have a macro like this 40% keyboard, for example. And of course, it doesn't have to be a keyboard. You can have something like a macro key, like in OBS. You can press on something and it sends a shortcut. So I haven't fully looked into this. I haven't compiled one. I have only watched the videos, but it's quite interesting. It's something that I've been looking forward to have to be able to program a microcontroller in Ruby, because now you can do it in Python, you can do it in JavaScript, but Ruby somehow just isn't breaking it through the microcontroller space. Of course, you can program it in C, and there's also Lua. So I would recommend watching the Ruby Kaigi Takeout. I think. This one, Pico Ruby. Where's Pico Ruby? I'll find out where. Oh, these are the slides. So I'll find out where the talk is. But yeah, these, if you watch the Pico Ruby presentations, then it will be something interesting for you. Yeah, that's it for my parking lot.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen tweets about the keyboard. I think it was during the time when Ruby Kaigi takeout happened. I guess I saw it on Twitter. It's like, using Ruby to program a keyboard microcontroller was a very interesting thing.
Yeah, that's just one of the applications. But if you can program a keyboard, you can probably control like it's the IoT thing as well. You can control your lights. You can set up sensors. You can set up alarms. It's the programming of the real world. You just don't do if else on software. You can do, let's say, if you get if the door hasn't been closed, like the fridge door isn't closed for 5 minutes, then set up an alarm or a blink or send an SMS to your phone saying that the fridge door is open or something like that. So there's a lot of things that you can do once you gain control over the real world. And it would be nice if you can program the real world in Ruby.
It's so weird hearing you say like gain control of the real world.
Yeah. Well, because right now all of our programming is inside the computer, right? It doesn't really affect or doesn't really do anything in the tangible universe. You can have a form, you can fill it out, but then what happens? Someone else, like a human, gets it and then does something there, right? But it doesn't really affect something. Unlike, for example, when you program like automatic door closing, opening, changing the air conditioner temperature, or like watering plants, the classic applications, or even just changing light colors or switching on and off lights, then it becomes a different sort of programming.
Yeah, something that would result in a physical sort of interaction, right? Rather than like or the screen just changing colors.
Yeah.
I definitely remember a talk a while back. I don't remember exactly which one, but they were talking about mRuby. And I think what they did was that they used mRuby inside for sensors, I think for either temperature or acidity, some sensor where they use in sake breweries in Japan. I don't remember which year did they talk about it, but there definitely was a talk about using mRuby in all these sensors. Yeah. All right. Gui, do you have anything to share for parking lot or anybody else in chat? Oh, okay. I guess yeah. Let's see. So before we end, let me flash up again. Where is it? This is our Slack. So if you, for example, want to reach out to Malcolm or you're interested in what Tristan talked about, oops, I forgot to share the text. You want to understand more about Ruby in microcontroller space, you can reach out to Tristan as well. So bit.ly/RubyMY Slack. I'm also going to bring up, I didn't take the slides from Rubina earlier, so I'm just going to flash up our YouTube. But yeah, we are doing this with Folkwell. So they're basically referring out 4 GrabFood vouchers. So all you need to do is just go to forkwell.io and create a developer profile. And once you've done it by today, you can reach out to Ruvina in Slack to let her know, like, hey, I've done this, and you'll be in consideration for the raffle. So yeah, I think that's about it. Right, thanks everyone for coming. We'll see everybody next month on, let me see what's the date.
New Year.
Yeah, New Year. Oh my God, Ruby in 2022. 4th of January would be the next meetup.
See you in 1 year.
Not that joke again. But you can only do this once a year, right? All right. See everybody next year.
Bye.